Hello and welcome to the Candlelight Podcast, where I, Mohamed Abdalla, talk about different topics, including some of my favorites, which are movies, martial arts, and, you guessed it, philosophy. Guys, how did y'all like that intro? I thought since this was the 20th episode, I might as well do something special, like introduce something that I've wanted to do for a while, which is some sort of intro, some sort of, animatic at the beginning that introduces the podcast and the episode number, and then we can get into the podcast with the code and then, everything else that goes on within a regular podcast episode. But I just wanted to, do something special since it was the 20th episode. And hopefully, since this is the last episode before my summer holiday begins, next week's episode will be after my final exam. So I'll be able to, experiment even more and actually do different kinds of intros that are, just all experimental, something for me to play with. And thankfully, I'm still almost completely unknown podcast, which gives me so much room to play around and experiment. Different intros, maybe even I introduce a camera where you can see a video of me speaking into the microphone and see what I can come up with, just all these different kinds of ideas that I can implement. So anyway, just wanted to do something kind of cool, make it a little different, have some fun. So with that said, guys, let's get into this week's quote. Win or lose, I know who I am. As said by Khabib Nurmagomedov. And this quote is actually funny and amazing. Funny because it was actually said in between rounds as Khabib was fighting Michael Johnson at UFC 205. He was fighting Michael Johnson and beating him up. And he was yelling at Dana White, in between rounds when he was at his corner, telling him that winner, basically, first of all, it's like he said another famous quote, which is not as obviously as deep as the one that I chose, but he said another quote that's iconic, just as iconic, which is, "Hey, I'm gonna smash your boy." He told Dana White, "I'm gonna smash your boy," meaning Conor McGregor, because if you all didn't know, Khabib was supposed to fight Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight title back in UFC 205 in 2016. But even though Khabib's already signed 2 contracts to fight Eddie, Dana decided that the fight that would make sense, not sense as in, flus, as in money, it would be Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight title to crown Conor as the double champ if he wins. So that's the fight he went with, even though he already made a contractual agreement with Khabib that Khabib would get the lightweight title shot. So he basically, pulled the rug from under Khabib and said, "No, I'll just do it with Conor." And that pissed Khabib off, and that's why he said, when they gave him a replacement fight, a different fight, he was like, "I'm gonna smash your boy." And he even, right after he said that iconic line, he said a very deep and very iconic line, which was, "Win or lose, I know who I am." Meaning that win or lose this fight that I am in right now, I know who I am. That didn't change. I know that I'm this hardworking person who has this mentality of a champion, who's going to do whatever it takes in order to be the winner, to be victorious, to be the best. So that really showcases you the mental fortitude of this guy and how we can learn from it, actually. Win or lose, I know who I am. It doesn't matter what the results are. I know that I put in the effort. I know that I'm a person who does the hard work, who puts in his due diligence, who does his work as if it's his duty. So I know that I did everything that was necessary to do. Whether the result is good or bad, or whether the result is what I wanted or not, rather, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be the right result. Because guess what? You put in the work that you wanted to put in. You already did that hard work. You did the effort. You put in the effort. So the result doesn't matter, because what really matters is that you did what you had to do. For example, to bring it down to, my level at least, I'm not a UFC fighter going and fighting world title matches. I'm a guy who's going through university at the moment. And let's say right now I have a final exam coming up. Let me give you this example, this exam as an example. Let's say I studied and I did everything I could to ace this exam, to get the best mark that I could. I'm trying to get the full mark, so I studied as much as I could. I tested myself before the test in order to make sure that I understood the concepts, in order to make sure that I understood the definitions and how to implement the concepts on the work that I have. For right now, I'm doing statistics, and it's a complex subject, and I have a lot of equations that I have to understand. And let's see how well I can do it. I study, and then I test myself, and I do the worksheets, I do the homework. But let's say even after all the hard work that I put in order to make sure I get the full mark, I still, let's say, got a C, I got a C. It's not a good mark, it's a C. It's borderline failing. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I didn't get the grade that I wanted to, because I already did the hard work. I am satisfied with myself. I know who I am. I am satisfied with the fact that I did the hard work that I needed to do. So, that said, it doesn't matter if I got a C or a B or an A or even an F. What matters is I know that I put in the hard work, and I know that with this result, I'm going to do better. I'm going to change what I needed to change. Maybe I didn't do something correctly. Maybe I made a mistake here. Maybe this is not a subject for me at all. Maybe I should, not even consider continuing with this subject. Whatever the adjustment is, I have to find the right adjustment and I have to make it. Maybe I should just push harder and study even harder next time, even though it's a final exam, but you get what I mean. So yeah, that's how the healthy mindset works. You just do the best that you can do and be satisfied with that. Even God does not care about your result. He cares about your effort. Let's say you put in let's say with the same example as the exam, you put in the most effort, but then you didn't get the result you wanted to. That's fine. God will only judge you based on your effort, what you did, how well you planned, how well you tried, how well you trained, how well you studied. And then the result doesn't really matter. It's just a worldly thing that's just gonna, pass on. We live and we learn. So, that being said, Habib, he really showcased that with that fight. And with those words that he said. With his career, he really displayed that the entirety of his career. He, win or lose, he knows who he is. Even though he never lost, which is, subhanAllah, because he had that mentality of, doing the right thing, doing the hard work, doing the smart work, that's why he never lost. God blessed him with an undefeated career. So, really something we can learn from him. Something I need to implement as well in my own life. And hopefully you guys have learned something from this. And hopefully you're going to take this idea and maybe implement it in your own lives. Something that's going to help us all, hopefully. Kind of like, there was a Pirates of the Caribbean quote about this, I think. The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude towards the problem. So it's not whether or not... It's similar. It's not the exact same thing, but it's similar. I think Jack Sparrow said that in the films. He kind of said, the issue... the problem is not the issue, the thing that happened. It's how you respond to it. Bad things are going to happen in your life, no matter what. So, are you going to have the positive mindset, or are you just going to be a Debbie Downer and kind of have that negative mindset, which consumes you? It's not good for you. It's horrible. So, that's all up to you. It's up to me, up to you, and that's how we have to see this world. We have to make sure we make the best of it and know who we are, because sometimes people who don't know kind of have this they don't understand who they are because they don't put in the hard work. At least that's what I can gather from it. You have to put in the hard work in order to have that self-assurance. Make sure you have that confidence and self-respect. You have to know that you are a person who does the right thing, who puts in the hard work, so you don't have the cognitive dissonance that causes anxiety. Because what if you do the hard work sometimes, but most times you do the hard work and sometimes you slack off? That's fine. But what if half the time you do the work and half the time you slack off? Or most of the time you slack off and you barely do the work? That will cause a lot of, anxiety and cognitive dissonance in you, which is not good for you. It's not really healthy, because your mind needs to know that this person that I'm currently controlling is, a good person, a hardworking person. We need to believe that. We need to have that self-esteem. And we only get that self-esteem only when we actually do the work, when we actually put in the effort, when we actually know who we are. Or rather, we actually do the work, and that's why we know who we are. Anyway, I think I talked about that long enough. Oh, it's been already 10 minutes of me just talking about that. Man, time passes fast. But anyway, so, to update you guys, my family is getting better, and COVID is fading away. My cousins, my aunts, they're all getting better. My immediate family, we all had COVID, and it's gone, pretty much gone. I haven't coughed once today, which is awesome. I've been coughing nonstop for weeks now, and but it's fading away. I'm feeling very well, and yeah, that's really cool. And I'm hoping to get back in shape after these past few weeks where I didn't work out. I didn't work out because I thought, not gonna exacerbate and put stress on my immune system, which may cause COVID to exacerbate and become worse. That happens between professional athletes who still work out even though they have COVID, and they don't know they have COVID, so they still work out, and then they just get destroyed by the virus, and destroys their lung capacity. Their breathing is not the same, and just makes their body into a wreck. I didn't want that to happen to me, so I just kind of took a few weeks off of working out, and hopefully I'm gonna get back to it this week. Hopefully, I think I'm gonna test first, maybe make sure that I'm negative. Oh, we'll see what happens. So, and speaking of skipping something for a few weeks, me and my cousins, my brothers and my cousins, we wanted to hang out for a while now, for the past 2 weeks, to watch the new Fast and Furious movie, Fast and Furious 9. But we had to skip it twice because, we have COVID, but our cousins don't, because it's our cousins from our father's side now. They didn't want to get COVID, obviously, so we're like, we're not gonna hang out with you guys. We're not gonna spread this disease. It's better if we stay at home, quarantine for now, and maybe in a week or two we can hang out. And that's what we're doing. So my cousin was like, dude, you're not gonna hang out with us unless you get us at least 3 negative test results. I don't want to risk it. Which makes sense, to be honest. You don't want to risk it, but come on, 3? Come on, man, that's a bit much. So yeah, COVID is fading away. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to leave the house, because I haven't left the house in like 2 weeks, and I want to say I'm going crazy, but not really. I've been busy, so I didn't really feel, have that feeling of, oh my God, what, I'm bored out of my mind, because I had a lot of things to do because it's the end of the semester, and I just need to get everything done. And yeah, I'm in the process of that. I got one more project coming up that I need to submit, and one more exam, and then hopefully next week's episode I'll be free, as it's gonna be summer holiday, and then I can just kind of work on this podcast a little bit more, see what new ideas I can come up with. Yeah. And one of those ideas, being that maybe I could get someone else to be in the podcast with me as a guest. As cool and comfortable I am being with myself and talking to you guys in the podcast, I wonder if I'm ever gonna, bring somebody else on, spice it up, and have a guest, add a little more flavor to this thing. So that's something that I'm pondering on. Yep, something that I'm thinking would actually make this podcast something better. So as for something that I did this week, I watched a movie. Actually, I watched the Ridley Scott film Kingdom of Heaven, starring Orlando Bloom as the main character. And it's basically, the reason I watched this movie is because this movie is historical. It's loosely based on the events that happened in back 1,000 years ago in Jerusalem. Because, the first crusade happened about 1,000 years ago, where the, crusaders came into the Holy Land and slaughtered Muslims in order to invade and conquer the Holy Land for themselves and expel basically every other religion. But, that happened, that they actually succeeded with that. And then there was a second crusade, and then I believe before there was a third, Salahuddin came around, and he was not having it. He was not going to allow the Muslims to be weak and have their Holy Land taken away from them. Now, the reason I watched this movie was because, I was, in light of recent events, it's happening right now in Jerusalem, how, in a weird twist of events, it's the Jewish people who are in control of it, in governmental control of it. That wasn't really the case much before. It was, they lived there, but they didn't have that government totalitarian control that the Christians used to have as well. So in this movie, we see what the history was loosely, but very, very close, to what really happened. Of course, there's this added drama, subplots that are, we don't know if they're true or they're real, but probably they're made up because, what happened in real life is kind of different than what happened in the movie. First of all, I'm going to tell you what happened in real life, and then I'm going to discuss what happened in the movie. So, in real life, it was, Salah ad-Din was the new sultan in the Arab lands, and he was this new leader that was bringing victory to the Muslims. And there was, there was a very big clash between him and the Christian rulers, the Crusader rulers rather, of Jerusalem at the time, who were very, cruel and strict, and didn't even allow Muslims to enter the Holy Land, even though it's our shared Abrahamic Holy Land, which is nuts. They shouldn't do that. So Salah ad-Din wanted to, allow Muslims to come back to it, and that happened to be in a war which the Muslims, led by Salah ad-Din, which the West knows him as Saladin, the word Saladin, but his name is really Salah ad-Din, so that's the name I'm going to use, obviously. So he defeated them in the Battle of Hattin, and he conquered the Holy Land, allowing Muslims to be able to live there in peace once again. It's an amazing thing that happened in history, brought justice to the place. Salah ad-Din was known as a just man, a fair man, a strong leader, but a kind leader. So a victory for humanity is what occurred when Salah ad-Din conquered the Holy Land, to give it back to the people who deserve to be there. Not to say that he didn't allow Christians to be there. No. He allowed Christians, obviously it's their Holy Land as well. It's our shared Abrahamic Holy Land. But he allowed Muslims who were expelled from there before. Because the first crusade was a bloody, brutal thing. It was a horrible event, a savage event that saw a lot of Muslims and Jews, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, being slaughtered. So he brought peace and justice to the region. Good for him. Now, in the film Kingdom of Heaven, it is showcased pretty much like that as well. Although it's like a 3-hour movie, but if you watch the director cut, it's like a 4-hour movie. I only watched the 3-hour movie because I don't want to spend that much time with the 4 hours, especially considering that I have an exam coming up. I don't want to spend too much time watching a film. But apparently after I watched the film, I saw a lot of comments on YouTube saying that the best version of the movie is the director's cut, which is the 4-hour version. But I didn't have, the luxury and time to watch that. So I stick to the 3-hour version, and that's the one I watched. And let me say, it's not Ridley Scott's best film. I think Gladiator is better. In comparison, just, with regard to his epic movies. The reason I didn't like the film. No, I actually liked the film Kingdom of Heaven. It was a good film, not the most historically accurate, obviously, but one thing they did right in the film was the character of Salah ad-Din in the film. They showcased him to be who he actually was in history, which is this strong and just ruler. He was a good person who led, the people to victory, and did it in a just manner. Was not a genocidal maniac. Did not brutally murder people. No, he did everything in the right way, with honor, with dignity. So that's something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed his scenes. His scenes were my favorite in the film, and the Orlando Bloom's character was the most weirdly written character in the film. He was such a out of place character that I just didn't know, like, who are you in this film? What are you doing? I know in the real character in history, who he's based on, what his role was, but I don't know what his character in the film was, what his role was. So it was just the weirdest writing with regard to that, but it showcased, and man, I'm telling you guys, When it comes to Salahuddin, they nailed most of the scenes. I won't say some scenes are a bit, but most of the scenes were amazing. You felt this character, this historical character, in front of you. You saw him. It's like a good a good acting, a good reimagining, I guess. But one scene, I think my favorite scene of the entire movie and of Salahuddin's scenes was the one where he finally conquered Jerusalem, and he enters and he goes into a church, and he actually steps around. He walks around a cross that was engraved into the ground. He walks around it in order not to step on a holy symbol of another religion. And not only that, he sees a cross on the ground. So what does he do? He picks it up and with dignity puts it on a tabletop, because a holy symbol like that does not belong on the ground. He shows respect to the other religions. Man, you guys have to watch that scene. That scene is really cool. That scene is pretty cool. You know what? Since we're experimenting right now, I'm just going to put this scene right now here for you guys to watch, and then we're going to, move on from this topic. So, here it is. How cool was that? How cool was that? Right. Salahuddin. That's the man for you. So, moving on. What do we have in the world of MMA today? Well, what we do have is no UFC event this weekend. We don't have a UFC event this weekend. It sucks. We have to wait, another week to watch another UFC event. And not the most exciting event. The card that's coming up is not the most exciting one, but the one after it, ooh, boy, is it stacked. Check this out. UFC 263. After not one, not two, since there's no card this weekend, after 1 week, there's one card, and then the week after that is UFC 263. But before we get into UFC 263, let's talk about what happened last weekend's, card. We saw the fight that, only fight for me to note that I really watched. I watched other fights, but this is the fight that that was the main event, and that was the most important of the entire event, which is Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt, to see who's the next contender in the bantamweight picture. So Rob Font coming off an amazing knockout victory of Marlon Moraes. He fights Cody Garbrandt, who's a former champion in the bantamweight division, who beat Dominic Cruz soundly. For some reason, he hasn't looked the same since he lost to TJ Dillashaw twice, and then I believe to someone else once as well. And then he won, actually, his last fight against the Sun Sao, I believe, but he did not win this one against Rob Font, who just looked amazing the whole fight. He outclassed Garbrandt in every way. He was able to, the grappling, Cody dominated in the grappling mostly in the first round, but then the rest of the rounds, Rob Font just won every single one. He knew how to use his striking to manage the distance and make sure to stay safe and also beat up Cody, because Cody's a dangerous puncher. But man, he did. What was surprising here is that Cody had the chin and survived to the final bell. He didn't get knocked out, and Rob Font, who has powerful hands, could not knock him out. So there you go. It was a good fight. Not the most entertaining, but it was a good fight. And now we know who's the next, who's truly a top 5 bantamweight contender. So man, bantamweight is looking amazing nowadays with all these names coming up. Who we got? We got the champ right now, Aljamain Sterling, who's only a champ because he got because his opponent Piotr Jan, who was a champion, got DQ'd because he threw a dumb knee to a grounded opponent, which is illegal, which you cannot do. But he did it, and he got DQ'd and lost his belt. Nobody has ever became champion because of a DQ. But here we go. There it is. And man. So you got Aljamain, who's the champion, and he's gonna rematch. I think he's gonna rematch Piotr Jan in November. And you've got Corey Sandhagen fighting TJ Dillashaw the week after UFC 263, I believe, or maybe July. I think it's July actually. Yeah, you've got a lot of interesting fights coming up for the bantamweight division, and you've got Marlon Moraes, who was a contender but got knocked out twice by first Corey Sandhagen and then Rob Font. And now you've got Rob Font in the title picture as well. So we got to see how he fits into this. We've got Aljo versus Piotr. We've got Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. And now we've got Rob Font, who needs to get in the middle of the mix and, get something going. So we'll see how that plays out in that division. Really cool division. A lot of stuff to look forward to. And I guess I'm going to... Since it's 2 weeks away, I'm not going to talk about UFC 263 right now. I'm just going to talk about what's going on in the card of next week. UFC 263 is 2 weeks away. I'm going to talk about it in next week's episode. So right now, since we don't have a card this weekend, I'm going to talk about next week, which is, I believe... Wait, who's fighting? I know two people who are fighting, but they're not fighting each other. We've got Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus who again? Let me just look that up. He's against Augusto Sakai, a heavyweight fighter. And we've got Walt Harris versus Marcin Tybura, and then no other fight that I really know anyone of. I just know Walt Harris and Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I don't even know their opponents. So as you can see, it's not the best card. Oh wait. I just went to the prelims and I saw that, Alir Latifi is fighting here. Alir Latifi and Makwan Amirkhani are fighting. Why are they in the prelims? They're actually, they're no names. Put them on the main card. But I guess maybe the people on the main card deserve it more. Because, looking at the main card's records, yeah, they're much better than Latifi and Amirkhani's. But hey, there you go. So it's not something that I'm looking forward to much, but still, Jairzinho is a potential contender in heavyweight. He beat his last win was his last notable win was against Junior Dos Santos, but we know Junior has been knocked out a bunch of times, so it's he's way out of his prime. And his last notable win before that was Alistair Overeem, who we also know is now retired, pretty much retired, I guess. Is he retired? Or no, he's just cut from the UFC. And he's cut from the UFC. And he also actually was winning the entire fight until Jairzinho landed a punch, which knocked him out. He was winning the entire fight, like the whole 5 rounds. And then the last 5 seconds of the 5-round fight, Jairzinho lands a punch that knocks him out. And he steals the win, basically. So, Jairzinho is fighting, Walt Harris is fighting, and yeah, those are the only 2 names that I know, and they're not really top contenders. They've actually lost to top contenders. Jairzinho recently lost to not only Ngannou, but he also lost to Cyril Gane, who's actually a top contender now in the UFC heavyweight division. Let's actually look up the UFC heavyweight division, see who's in the top 5. Let me guess. I'm pretty sure it's, obviously, Francis Ngannou is the champion. You've got Stipe Miocic, and then you've got Derek Lewis, who's the number 1 contender, and you've got Cyril Gane, who just beat Jairzinho, actually. So, right, exactly in the order that I even said. Also, one more notable name, Alexander Volkov. He's been working hard to get in the top 5, and he is actually in the top 5, along with Curtis Blades. But Volkov actually lost to Derek Lewis, and again, same way that Overeem lost to Jairzinho, which is a knockout blow that stole the fight in the last few seconds of the fight. Volkov was beating Lewis, and then Lewis just lands a knockout punch. Yeah, heavyweight is just a crazy division like that, man. I'm really interested to see what goes on. And we've got another element going into the heavyweight division, the title picture, which is Jon Jones. We don't know if we're gonna see him fight the champion. Well, I think what's pretty much confirmed is Francis Ngannou is gonna fight Derek Lewis right now for the belt, but we'll see what happens with Jon Jones, and we'll see what happens with Stipe. And Cyril Gane is already booked against Alexander Volkov, so probably the winner of those two. I'm reluctant to say that they would get the title shot because Jon Jones is in the picture, and the future of heavyweight is just not that clear right now. So there you go. I mean, that's what we have so far with regard to news in the MMA world. And guys, let me just use this last minute before I go too much overtime to say that wow, this year has been crazy for MMA. How crazy is this year for MMA? Last year in 2020, we had good fights, but it was a little depressing considering how many legends we saw retire, like Anderson Silva, Habib, Henry Cejudo, and Daniel Cormier. But this year may be the greatest year in MMA history. It has so many amazing fights already, and we're not even in June. It's still the first, half of the year, and it's just been a blast so far. So many great fights, so many historic fights, so many crazy knockouts, so many crazy finishes, and I'm loving this year so far, and I can't wait to see what comes next. It's a good year to be an MMA fan. Anyway, with that said, this was the Candlelight Podcast by yours truly, Mohamed Abdalla. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you come back for more. And once again, win or lose, I know who I am. See you guys in the next one. Peace.